Next up is Jeremy Barnhart from the City of Elk River.
Thank you. The City of Elk River Station is about a third of a mile east of Highway 10, which is handy from an access standpoint, but a little challenging from a visibility standpoint. The station is in the heart of a plan that we created in 2010 that kind of looked at kind of the development potential and the kind of the evolution of that area, both from a station perspective, because at the time when we started this study, the station wasn't operating, but also we recognized a number of changes associated with Highway 10 as it evolves from the on-surface roadway, road highway, excuse me. The city owns and is developing about 90 acres of land just in the southwest of the station, which you'll see in the map in a short while. And we see that as kind of helping spur the development along and providing additional opportunities to kind of maximize the train station in that area. I mentioned earlier that we see Highway 10 evolving, and part of that is being helped by the train station. We're already starting to see some of that impacts. We've approved a 53-unit apartment building in an area that wouldn't normally see any type of density. And also we're looking at one now, which we expect to be in development in 2014. So we're already starting to see quite a bit of the impacts that the train station and this study and the work that this group has done already in terms of seeing some activity in the city of Elk River. Primarily, we see our area as an industrial type area. Not a lot of residential nearby, other than those two housing or two workforce housing projects. But we see actually quite a bit of activity coming up shortly. That's all.
Thanks. Jim McComb?
Elk River has roughly 1,200 employees in its trade area that work in downtown Minneapolis. 20% of those ride the train to the city. And the other thing, the cities with river crossings nearby tend to pull south from south of the river, so that the Elk River station actually draws commuters from as far as Albertville, which I was surprised to see that distance. But one thing I've observed about transit, people find out a way to use it so it makes sense for them, and you can't always make assumptions about what you think is going to happen and be right 100% of the time. Again, now we're in the growing part of the metro area, so for Elk River, employment has been increasing, population is increasing, households have been increasing, but the household size is declining modestly. Average household income is about $83,000, so higher than average for the corridor. And Elk River is both an old community and a new community, so with householders 65 years or older, they tend to split the difference at 15.5% of the households, compared to a low of 10 and a high of 20. The owner-occupied units in the community have been increasing. Renter-occupied units have been increasing. But interestingly, the percentage of renter-occupied units has declined from 21.7 to 19.8. Elk River had the highest average building permits during the 2000-2007 period, with 324. They've averaged 18 building permits in the period since then, which is the sharpest decline in the corridor communities. Looking to the future, the station area multifamily, we're estimating potential demand 31 units to 58 units per year, with slightly lower demand in the ensuing period as growth in the metropolitan area slows down.
Thank you. Jim Prost?
Elk River is somewhat different than the other stations we've been discussing previously. The area around the station has an introduction of new residential, but it's traditionally an industrial area. The city's objectives are related to jobs. There's a road improvement we'll get to. We should have gone first. There's a road improvement and connectivity that relates an issue. So there's a great emphasis on jobs than housing. So what you really have is a project that needs to be developer initiated at the station as the station characteristics start to change. And we actually see this starting to happen already. And it's, there's the hole in the donut, and this has been happening more at the donut, not in the hole, because the hole itself is more industrial in character right now. And the station is more, as Jim said, commuter related. So how do you work something where there's limited public land and public objectives, maybe more into the job related, which is less commuter rail related? So opportunities for land swaps and other things need to be considered. The ability of deferring impact fees and being creative with revolving loans and tax increment financing are other opportunities. But it's a whole different scenario as you work with developer-initiated, not public sector-initiated, because predominantly of the land ownership and the goals and objectives of the community.
Thank you, Jim. And Joni, some connectivity things that Jim Prost really wanted you to mention.
I'll change my order. So the connectivity, this is the Twin Lakes roadway that has started to be constructed through that industrial area, and which will extend all the way down to 10 in the future. So once again, we want to make sure that the city has already implemented some trails features along that roadway, but to continue to build trail and sidewalk features on that road when it gets built out. And this is one of those sites that really kind of plays on what Jana was just mentioning the last time ago about making connections to that planned Mississippi River Trail. So really close, easy connection to that planned river trail in the future. As well, we heard that people like to go mountain biking up in Hillside City Park, which is just off my map here. And so, this is one of those opportunities of the station to really connect in with that recreation demand of helping people get from the station up to this recreation destination and that recreation destination of the corridor along the river itself. If some additional residential is happening, we're understanding that it will happen here on the northeast side of Highway 10 and the rail. So with any future residential development, we would recommend that there'd be sidewalk facilities that be incorporated in with that, consistent with what you're doing already with your recent developments. And also with the industrial area, there is that possibility that people might be wanting to use the station and to get to work. So once again, along the streets in the industrial areas, to at least have a sidewalk on one side of each one of those streets.
Thank you, Joni. And a wrap-up, Jeremy.
In the meetings that staff has had with this organization over the last couple of months, really eye-opening in several respects in terms of the connections that Joni had just kind of highlighted. That's something we're going to try to do more aggressively when funds allow, but also from a development cost standpoint and trying to make that easier. We've always had that mentality, of course, but this identifies maybe areas that we can focus in from a community standpoint. So this report I'm excited to bring back to our economic development and our city council and kind of incorporate the findings as much as we practically can, in addition to continuing kind of the course that we have established already with the development of our 90-acre piece, hopefully pursue some land swaps or some other kind of mechanisms that we can do to keep moving along. The last comment on that slide is patience, which maybe from the development standpoint is a bit challenging word, but most of the people that want to develop in the study area or the city, and there's a somewhat desire to get that off the city books as much as or fast as possible, to the detriment maybe of the long-term plan. So I'm preaching patience to my city council and the public, but from a developer standpoint, I'm preaching we'll work with you to try to get things done. A lot of the tools that we've identified already, the TIF, the abatement, the flexible zoning, those things, all highlighted in the report, are all things that we're continuing to do. So
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.